Rob, let's kick us off.
Brendan, good to see you.
Very good afternoon.
Mate, can I ask you about Liverpool's success last night briefly and what you made of it? I mean, to win in Munich impressed an awful lot of people, as they have done all season, really. And it's led to a lot of people saying, well, what's priority for them? Which is biggest for Liverpool this season? What did you make of last night, and where do you think?
Well, I think it was a great result. I think after the first game, I think people were looking at it as maybe a negative result, but 0-0 is never a bad result in Europe, especially on the back of your home game. But no, it was a brilliant team performance to get the result out there, like you say, and win 3-1, and to have 4 of the Premier League teams in the quarterfinals. It's a great achievement by all the teams. So yeah, a very, very good victory for them, and like I say, congratulations to all 4 teams who've done very well.
Can I ask you as well about fan behaviour? It's one we're asking all managers, north, south, of every level as well. I mean, police in Scotland have confirmed this morning they're now investigating allegations of sectarian chanting aimed specifically at Steven Gerrard. Your successor at Celtic, Neil Lennon, has had some really horrible experiences in the past. How worrying is this, Brendan?
Well, I think there just seems to be a real undercurrent of anti-social behaviour for me, which is the worry. And I think the saddest thing in it all, when you see all the incidents that are happening, is that clubs have worked so hard to create a family atmosphere, you know, for families to come, for kids to come and enjoy. And there's like a deconstruction of that at the moment. So I just think it's something that there needs to be real strong sanctions in place in order to reconstruct that. Because, like I said, football is for all. It's for family, it's for passion, and like I say, there's just this undercurrent of real poor behaviour now, which we need to eradicate from the game.
Thank you. The club have announced this morning that Eduardo Macia will be leaving in the summer after his contract expires. About 10 days ago, I asked you about Lee Congleton up at Celtic. There's obviously a vacancy now. Would you like Lee to come? Is that now a much stronger possibility?
There's nothing really to add on it, Rob. I think when I first came in to the club a few weeks ago, this was something that was already in place, that I was made aware of, something that was sort of Christmas really, that Eduardo was going to move on. A really good guy, but wants another challenge and a fresh challenge, and we'll move on. And I think the club will now just go through a process of finding a replacement. Like I say, it's a wonderful club with a really exciting time ahead. So I'm sure there'll be a number of candidates that would love to come in here and help us make these next forward steps. So yeah, Eduardo will move on, and like I say, over the coming weeks there'll be a process in place to find a replacement. Will
you be involved in that process?
Yeah, I'll be involved. It'll obviously be very much a club appointment, but of course it's important that the football manager is involved.
Hamza Chowdhury has won his first England under-21s call-up this morning. That's great reward for him. You haven't had long to work with him, but have you got an impression of how good he could be going forward? Yeah,
he's a very good young player. I've obviously not seen him. He hasn't played for me as of yet, but I've seen him in the games where he came into the team a number of months ago, and I've really enjoyed working with him in this period. He's a young player with a lot of potential. He's very much a defensive-minded midfield player who breaks up the game very well. He covers the ground very well, and like I said, he will get better with experience and with games. So yeah, he's a fantastic young boy, and it's great for him to get that recognition. And like I say, I'm sure he'll have a big future.
James Maddison's in the under-21s as well. There's been a few people in the game that have suggested he should have got into Gareth Southgate's senior squad, especially because the stats say, I think, that he's made more key passes than anybody else in the top 5 divisions in Europe, which is a heck of a stat. Were you a little bit disappointed that he wasn't in the senior squad?
No, I think for James, like I said, I've only come in and taken the chance to work with him. I think when he was called in before, I'm sure Gareth and his staff will want to have a look at him. You know, they've got a whole raft of very, very good players. But I've got no doubt with James over the next few years, he's going to really improve as a player. He's got the last pass that you don't see a lot in midfield players. You know, I'm so excited to work with him here because, like, he is a huge talent. You know, he can take the ball in midfield, but like I say, he can play forward, and he can play forward very quickly because he's got a wonderful vision of the game. And we'll just hopefully add other aspects to his intensity, and obviously to his goal scoring that can help him. But he's a wonderful young player. It's his first season into the Premier League. He's made great strides. I seen him a few years ago when he played with Aberdeen on loan, and you could recognise he was a talent then. And I look at him now and I see a boy with a lot of potential, who's willing to work hard at his game. So yeah, it's one that will come for him in time. I think it's concentrate on being the best that you can for Leicester, and I'm sure that will take care of itself in the coming years.
First win in your first home game here, which I know must have been pretty special for you. How would you make that the start of something? How do you make that the start of a bit of momentum from this point?
Well, I think it's always important to win after you win, and I think that's our message. I was really pleased with the performance, having had that sort of full week to work with the players, look to impose the ideas. I think when I went away after the game and watched it, it was actually better than what I thought at the time. You know, there's lots of really good moments in the game for us, in particular first half. We had a setback in the early part of the second half in the game, but the players showed what good teams do. You know, good teams for me will always start quickly and finish strong. And in that first 20 minutes, we got the opening goal with opportunities to score more, and then we finished the game really strong. So lots of encouraging signs in the game, but of course, still a long way to go for us. And we'll go into a game at the weekend, which will be another tough game for us. But we've had another good week up until now, and we're excited about the game.
Talk to me about Jamie Vardy. He's gone past that landmark now of 100 goals for this football club. Scored 2, set up 1 in a 3-1 win. Everybody thinks they know what Jamie Vardy is looking from the outside. I wonder whether you had a view of that as well, but I wonder whether that view's changed now that you've spent a couple of weeks with him. Is there anything new you've learned about him from actually working with him over the last couple of weeks? Well,
perception's always something that can be difficult. I think from the outside looking in, you've seen him for what he was, which is a top-class goal scorer. You know, who was the focal point of a title-winning team. Everyone knows his journey. But it's only really when you come in and you work with someone and you see them close up and you see the real value of them. Because as a footballer, he's tactically very, very good. He's not just a boy that scores goals and runs forward. No, his ability to understand the game from a tactical perspective is very good, and he will really be the focus of when we press the game, and it's good because he can participate in that because tactically he's very good. He's a real mental strength. He loves to train. He wants to work. You know, he's early 30s, but he wants to get better. You see the strength in his legs, the speed in his game, and for me, it was something when I went into Liverpool. I had seen Luis Suarez, and Louis was made the pivotal player of the front line, and then the team then followed behind him. And I look at Jamie in a similar sort of aspect. Really, he's a fantastic player, but he can't do it on his own. It has to be 11 players all working together, and that starts from the front. So he's a good guy. He loves his training, like I say. And hopefully he's got plenty more goals left in him.
What do you make of Burnley? Are you surprised they've struggled a little bit this season?
Well, firstly, it's worth mentioning, I think Sean's done an outstanding job there, and all his time. A great credit to the club as well, because when they got relegated a few years back, they stayed with him and he got them back up again. Done an outstanding job. Last year they had really good success, and then they qualified for European football. And my experiences of that, when you go through a qualification phase, it can be very, very difficult because you come back in at the middle of June, you're back in training around about 15th, 16th of June, which for their players would have been, 2 or 3 weeks before they normally would. And then they're into qualification games. And then if you don't qualify for Europe, it can start off your season in a real downer. And that's probably what had happened. But I think what Sean has shown, the quality of his management, because it went for a little period of time, but then he's been able to galvanise the squad, press the reset button again, and then he's got them winning again. And so that shows you the quality of him as a coach and as a manager. So so every game at Burnley is a tough game. We'll expect a tough game, and like I say, I'll look forward to seeing him.
Good man. Any team news for us? Anybody struggling that we don't know about?
Nothing as of yet. So another day to go, but this moment they're okay.
Good man. Thank you.
Cheers.
Hi, Brendan.
Hi.
Obviously, you worked with Sean Dyche, or you were certainly at Watford at the same time. I think when he was coming through coaching at the academy. How has he developed, do you think, as a person and as a coach in the years since?
Well, I think when I first came across Sean, like you say, I was aware of him as a player, a very committed player. And then when I became manager at Watford, he was taking the youth team there. Good guy, very passionate about the game. And sometimes because of what he was like as a player, an up and down centre half. But he was a very intelligent guy in terms of the game and the football, and had a real openness about his communication. And to see him, obviously, he got the job then at Watford at a time, and was very, very unfortunate to lose it, but has then gone on, done a brilliant job at Burnley. I think he's really established and showed himself as a top-class manager. He's been there a period of time, like I said, got them promoted. Then obviously went into relegation, but got them promoted again. And like I say, I can't speak highly enough of him, of the job that he's done. So experience makes you better. He'll have found out, especially this season, having been on the highs of last year. He'll see the difficulties of when you're trying to manage European football and domestic football. But he will certainly, be better for that. But no, as a top class manager who's done very well.
Do you think they'll be fine then this season? I mean, they're quite close to the relegation zone, but they do have a number of home games left, and as you say, they seem to have come through that kind of sticky period.
Yeah, I think whenever I see them play, even before I come into here, you could see that they sort of got back to what they were good at again. Everyone working, everyone running, and then they have the players with quality. So yeah, they'll see the home form in particular has been very important for them. But I'm sure Sean will do what he's done, and like I say, get them over the line always.
Have your preparations been affected slightly by the weather this week, or has it been all right?
No, it's been it's been windy, but no, it's all been fine. Players have worked really, really well, and we'll finish off our final phase of that there tomorrow.
Good stuff. Just finally, something you mentioned to Rob about Jamie Vardy, and in terms of bringing more intensity, which you've been looking to do, and how key he is to you tactically, and I guess setting when you press and stuff like that. So is it kind of, am I being too simplistic when I say if he goes, then the rest of the team kind of know that's when they need to click into gear and they need to press, and then it's like a chain reaction? Yeah,
it's exactly that. Fundamentally, the idea is important that we have to press and defend well, and you do it together. And like I say, one player can never go on his own. You see teams where one player's up there chasing the back four and everyone else is sat in behind. So that's no good if you're trying to synchronise all your space and close the space. So yeah, no, I've always liked him from the outside looking in, and come up against him with my teams, and he was always a real threat. So to get the chance to work with him, but see closely how intelligent he is as a footballer, it's been great to see. And he's gained experience over these last numbers of years now at the top level. He's putting all of that into place, and like I say, it's a great benefit for me.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ian, please.
Hi, Brendan.
Hi.
Regarding Jamie Vardy, you just talked about his tactical awareness, and also mentioned Sean Dyche as well, in that you may not have expected, if you look at the kind of player he was, to have been a good coach. Do you see Jamie Vardy, when he does hang his boots up age 45, one day maybe in a coach?
Well, I didn't say that, but Sean. Yeah, I didn't say he wouldn't be a good coach because of the type of player he was.
You suggested that the type of player he was, maybe that you might not expect a coach to have come from when you saw him as a player.
Yeah, no, I think it's just perception of people. But I think, listen, I always think with players, it's what they decide is they want to do. I think you get some players that they just have no interest in getting into coaching. They've worked all their life as players, from playing football since they were 6-7 years of age, and then they get through into the mid-30s. Some of them, it's the last thing they want to do. They've other interests in the game. I've come across many players that have just gone into business and preferred that side. So Jamie, one, I think for players, I always say to them, whenever they're 2 or 3 years away from maybe thinking the end is near, as to, if you want to go into coaching, have a think about it then. Start to do your badges, start to get qualified, because it's a totally different sport from playing. There's long hours, a lot of work, a lot of study, but it will help you and prepare you for that moment. So with Jamie, I think he's still in that stage where he's still very much a player, very much focused on that. And but like I say, you never know in the future, and I don't know him well enough to get a real feeling for that. But like I say, he's certainly a first class player, and if he wants to go down that route, I'm sure that he'd be very good as well.
You mentioned the possible difficulties for Burnley in the qualification for the Europa League early in June, and what they may have come across 2 years ago today. Leicester City qualified for the quarterfinals of the Champions League, and some in the city and area still have a thirst for European football, and thinking about 7th could be a Europa League qualifier, and harbouring ambitions of getting there. Would you like to finish in 7th? Would you welcome that qualification place?
Well, I think I said on my first day here, my expectation over my time here is to try and bring the football club back into Europe. And if we can do that whenever that is, then great. Certainly my idea coming in for this part of the season was just to stabilise all the emotions of the squad and the team, and try and put in place an identity and an idea in the team that allows us over the course of time to become better and better. But whenever it comes, you always accept it. So, but there's still a number of games to go, some tough games for us, and we'll finish where we'll finish, and then we'll go away, have a really good pre-season, and then we're going to real good run at it next year. But that is definitely the ambition of what it is we want to achieve.
You mentioned Burnley's work rate and their effort and their quality as well in some of the players that they've got. They've been known, of course, to play a 2 up front. I just wonder, defensively, given what we've seen in the couple of games from you, is it a consideration to maybe return to the 3 or stick with the 4 at the back?
Yeah, just have to look at it. We've analysed Burnley over these last few days and looked at the game. So yeah, it's always a consideration, the tactics going into a game. And then eventually the players will become really, really flexible and comfortable. I think the most important thing now is get them feeling comfortable in terms of how we defend and how we attack, without complicating it too much. And then when we have more time to work, then that will become more fluent for them, and they become more accustomed to it. So, but it's definitely something you look at going into every game.
A player we've not heard from a while is Matty James, central midfielder who's had a few injuries recently. I just wonder what his situation is injury-wise and possibly, first team possibilities-wise.
Yeah, I think that Matty over these first few weeks, he's again a good guy who's just been so unfortunate with injuries. It seems to have been a constant for him. But he's back now training. He's obviously, it's going to be difficult for him first team wise between now and the end of the season. But his idea and our idea is really just to get him back into the regular flow of training, of working, to build up that fitness. He may get some games with the second team between now and the end of the season, to reinforce that, and then he'll be ready to start pre-season, hopefully in a where his body is fit and strong, and then we see how pre-season goes.
I know there's a break, an international break. Many of your players are going to be on international duty, Brendan, but I wonder whether you'd be able to comment or discuss with us the possibility of any of the players or staff going to Thailand in the next 10 days or so for Kunvashai's cremation, which I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's coming up pretty soon. Yeah,
I was obviously made aware of that when I came in. So next week the international players that will go away with international teams, and the remainder of the staff and the players will go and show their respects and travel to Thailand for the funeral. We'll do that next week.
I hope that goes well, and good luck at the weekend.
Pleasure, thank you.
Okay, folks, thanks very much. Unless there's anything else urgent, we'll pop next door for